Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 111. I see flying daggers. In the darkness, his thoughts seemed to have returned to that dark alley. After Lu Su had kissed him, Morrigan reached out a hand and grabbed him by the neck. He forced him to lift his head slightly, meeting his eyes. Lu Su's eyes were filled with a nervousness and terror that he expected to see, and right after that, Morrigan lowered his head, lightly biting down on the side of his neck. In that moment, he seemed to have turned into a wolf again, his sharp canines instantly piercing Lu Su's skin, penetrating through his veins. A wave of sweet blood came bursting out, flowing endlessly into his mouth. Lu Su lifted his head, the black sky reflected in his eyes. The dark clouds that filled the air parted, and with a shua, the light of the stars in the sky above shone down upon them. The Milky Way just so happened to pass through the sky above this narrow alleyway, turning the alleyway as bright as day. The light of the stars revolved around them curiously, and their silver brilliance danced through the air. After sucking his blood, Morrigan let go of his neck, still unsatisfied. With a gentle lick, he caused the wound to heal, before once again meeting his gaze silently. That gaze was focused and wild, as if he was watching one of his prey that was under his control, unable to flee. Lu Su couldn't help pressing a hand on his chest, and a shining light pierced through the dark alleyway. With a shua, Morrigan vanished. He suddenly opened his eyes. When he woke, the rain had already stopped, and from outside came the beat of the curfew drums and the sounds of merrymaking. He lifted his hand to feel his own neck. There was one spot that seemed to be a little strange, and he immediately climbed off the bed. The world spun around him, and he almost fell to his knees on the floor next to the bed. "Little Lu?" Chu Yangxi asked from outside. "Are you sick?" Lu Su staggered to his feet, his head spinning, his entire body unsteady as if he was stepping on cotton. He glanced into the mirror, only to find that a red imprint had appeared on one side of his neck. Chu Yangxi pushed the door open and came in, hurriedly putting a hand to his forehead. "Damn it," Lu Su said. "He came into my dream." That afternoon, Lu Su took some medicine. He had caught a cold after being drenched in the rain last night. He sat there, exhausted, addressing the group. "His second target is Geshu Han. That won't be easy to handle," Atai said, frowning deeply. "Geshu Han is definitely not as easy to get along with as Hangolan is." Lu Su, Atai, and Ashinakayan had all seen Geshu Han before, and after they discussed for a moment, they finally decided to hammer down the details for tonight. But the most important piece of information was one that they still had not obtained, and Lushan had not let Morrigan know where he kept the sacred flame, and there were only 6 days left until Yang Yahuan's birthday. The sun set in the west. Lu Su's nose was runny, and he felt so hot that his head spun as he searched his thoughts for what he would do if he ran into that guy tonight, as well as what Morrigan had been trying to accomplish in that dream last night. Chu Yangxi was worried about Lu Su, and he kept urging him not to go out to carry out the mission tonight. Lu Su, however, insisted on setting out with the others, and when the two of them were waiting outside the general's manor, Lu Su suddenly asked, "Which of the two do you think is him?" Chu Yangxi paused for a moment, searching his thoughts in the face of this question that had come out of the blue. "Both of them are him," Chu Yangxi replied. "Legends has it that when Lady Nuwa created the humans, like the sunrise and the sunset, like the bright day and the dark night, the 307 po of humans also have light and dark in them." Lu Su pondered for a long while, before asking, "If we were to arrange the members of the exorcism department from smartest to dumbest, who do you think would be the smartest? And where would he fall?" Chu Yangxi smiled, but he didn't reply. Lu Su kept asking, and finally Chu Yangxi said, "The smartest is naturally Zhenxi. I must admit that I am inferior to him." Lu Su waited for a long while, but didn't get a response. Chu Yangxi continued, "As for the dumbest, that falls between you and Hung Jun." Lu Su. "As soon as we are born, Some of us are smart, and some of us are dumb, Qiu Yangxi said. The hardest thing to obtain in this world is nothing more than returning to living in innocence. The more someone knows, the more he appears modest. Being too smart actually makes living a tiring experience. There's a saying that describes them: they are too clever for their own good, and putting it more simply, it's better to live carefree and comfortable, isn't it? Lu Su replied, I'm not Hung Jun, I won't buy into your act. I just wanted to ask, from your view, there are still holes in the big wolf's plan, are there not? Qiu Yangxi waved the folding fan in his hand, his reply as light as the breeze. No need to worry. Aren't I here still? Lu Su was not as clueless as Hung Jun, who, since arriving and settling in, was all right as long as he had food to eat, a bed to sleep on, and Li Jinglong to whisper sweet nothings to. From beginning to end, Lu Su had studied every person in the exorcism department, and usually, they seemed to each have their own plans. When they clashed, no one let up against each other, but in reality, they did split up the work when it came to coming up with strategies. Even when Li Jinglong had been around, he would sometimes ask for Qiu Yangxi's opinion. Aside from Li Jinglong, this guy seemed to be the one that saw through things the most. Whereas Mo Rijin, when Li Jinglong had left, had naturally taken up the role of being everyone's leader. For all this time, Lu Su suspected that Qiu Yangxi had made some preparations, if only because he hadn't made any judgments throughout the course of these events, nor had he taken the initiative to do anything. However, Qiu Yangxi's expression changed minutely, and he asked Lu Su, Little Lu, haven't you noticed something? Qiu Yangxi winked at Lu Su, before starting to smile mysteriously. Don't you think, that even though Zhenji hasn't been here all this time, Xiaoyu has still trusted us so much? Isn't he nervous? He isn't, Lu Su replied. It's been so many days already. Aside from that night when he showed himself, he hasn't asked about our strategy again. Qiu Yangxi replied, as if he had thought the same. Say, do you think that he knows what we're doing at this moment? Lu Su shook his head, very slowly. Once again, Qiu Yangxi smiled mysteriously. When night fell, the general's estate was very quiet. In the hall was placed the birthday present for Yang Yahuan that Geshuhan had brought from Liangzhou, a garment of white feathers, which had been carefully sewn together by artisans from the western regions. It had taken a good 3 years to make. The feather garment was composed of 7 layers, each of them overlapping, and the light danced over gold and silver threads like flowing water. She'll definitely like it? Yang Qiuzhong said, nodding. Geshuhan then had the serving women fold the feather garment up, saying to Yang Qiuzhong, this old man truly spent all my effort on buying this feather garment. After Yang Qiuzhong praised it a little while longer, Geshuhan invited him into the study for some wine. The two of them chatted for almost half a shishan before Yang Qiuzhong walked out of the study with Geshuhan, who wore a very complicated expression. It's about time, Geshuhan sighed. Finally, Yang Qiuzhong said, for the sake of the future great Tang. Geshuhan was already advanced in years, and his beard and hair were spotted with white. Last year, a plague had spread through Ziliang, and he himself had fallen gravely ill as well, so now he looked as if his age was catching up to him. He sighed, before nodding, and Yang Qiuzhong left on his own, not saying anything more either. Geshuhan turned around and went back into the study to look at the missive that Yang Qiuzhong had brought with him. Master, a serving woman said from outside, the lady is requesting your presence. In a bit. Geshuhan was studying that piece of paper, carefully comparing the brush strokes. There was no more sound from the outside for a while. Not long after though, the housekeeper said, Master. I know, I'll head over right away, Geshuhan said impatiently. Mo Rijin of the Great Tang Exorcism Department wishes to see you, the housekeeper said. Mo Rijin? Geshuhan vaguely remembered this person. When the corpse ghosts had been wreaking havoc in Liangzhou, Mo had stayed at his estate for a long while to recuperate from his wounds, and after that, Li Jinglong came with the report that there was a Yao hidden in Chang'an. With that, he told the housekeeper to let Mo in. Mo hands were empty, and he had no weapons on him. When he entered the room, he first studied his surroundings instead of greeting Geshuhan. Geshuhan placed the letter under a book, before lifting his gaze to look at him. "What?" Geshuhan asked in response. He treated the members of the exorcism department rather politely, because after all, Li Jinglong had saved his life, and plus, each and every one of these people were very talented and took their orders directly from the emperor, so they were a force that should not be underestimated. What did Yang Kuozhong say? Mo took a step forward, as if he had changed his mind. Geshuhan's eyebrows furrowed, and he grew incensed. Just as he was about to shout "How dare you," a thought suddenly occurred to him, and he said darkly, "You're not Mo. Who are you?" "Guards." Mo expression changed. He never thought that Geshuhan would have been well versed in reading people, and had subsequently seen through him in one go. Immediately, he gave up on getting any more information out of him, suddenly flicking out a finger instead. 6 nailed arrows suddenly shot through the window and through the tiles on the roof, all of them shooting towards Geshuhan. Just as the arrows, which had flown from 6 of his blind spots, were about to cause harm to his entire body, and Geshuhan had nowhere to flee to, a white shadow appeared with a shua. Lu Su was incomparably fast as he burst through the paper of the window to get in. One foot stepped on the table, while his short daggers appeared in his hands. One of the daggers blocked the arrow closest to Geshuhan, sending it flying away, before he flipped and vaulted onto the rafters, turning to block the second arrow. He then fell with the arrow, waving his dagger to block the third. There were 3 dings, and Lu Su turned in the air, his speed even faster than that of the arrows, to block 2 more arrows. The last grazed his arm as it flew past, cutting open the cloth of his robes, and drops of fresh blood danced through the air. Mo leapt backwards. Lu Su rushed up, striking Mo chest with his shoulder. Mo could have called up the 7 nailed arrows and stabbed them through Lu Su, instantly killing him, yet he couldn't find it in himself to do so. He simply turned to the side to dodge Lu Su, not wishing to engage in battle with him, before he then brought the fingers of his 2 hands together. The arrows that had been knocked away gathered up again, revolving as they shot past Lu Su, flying towards Geshuhan standing behind him. Everything had happened in just that short second, and just as Geshuhan finished shouting, "Come," just as the last sound left his mouth, Qiu Yangxi, Ashinakayan, and Atai all leapt in through the windows. Atai had the godly hurricane fan in his hand, and he said coldly, "You've gone too far, brother." With that, Atai waved his fan, and a piercing, icy wind sent the scrolls and books in the room flying. With a wave of his brush, Qiu Yangxi made the landscape paintings in the study come alive. A huge mountain immediately sprung off the paper, rushing with great momentum towards Mo. When he saw the mountain flying towards him, Mo realized that things were not going well, only for it to collide solidly with his chest. His back slammed heavily into the doorframe, and the wooden door collapsed as he went flying out. Ashinakayan pulled out his throwing knives, which he threw at Mo nailed arrows. "Lu Su!" Qiu Yangxi shouted. "Attack!" Lu Su's hands trembled, before he came to a decision and let out a wild roar. "Ah!" Lu Su's daggers drew arcs of light through the air, gathering the iciness that Atai had sent out along the bodies of the daggers. With that shout of heart-rending pain, he pressed himself into Mo arms. "Mo! Lu Su!" Lu Su's 2 daggers shot out, one of them stabbing into Mo side, while the other went directly for his abdomen, sliding right in. Mo never expected that Lu Su would be so heartless, and he let out a wild roar. Despite the dagger embedded in his abdomen, he waved his hand forcefully, sending Lu Su flying with a punch. Lu Su felt that that punch had the force of 1,000 jin behind it, and his head rang as he was swept away, and he collapsed in the corner of the room. At the same time, Qiu Yangxi, Ashinakayan, and Atai came rushing forward, protecting Geshuhan. Morajin didn't say any more as he leapt into the air, and with a somersault, landed on the rooftop. There was a series of hasty footsteps, and roof tiles went flying as he escaped. Geshuhan stared, his face shocked. Only when his guards came forward to capture the three assassins did Geshuhan let out a loud roar. "All of you, stop!" Atai, Qiu Yangxi, and Ashinakayan all turned at once to greet Geshuhan. "This was an urgent matter, apologies for the intrusion," Qiu Yangxi said. "Please forgive us for this, old general." "You." Geshuhan pointed at Atai. "Tell me what happened." He then had the guards that came in all leave them. Ashinakayan went forward to help Lu Su to his feet, while Qiu Yangxi bent over to pick up the papers that had flown through the room, placing them back on Geshuhan's desk. Just as Atai was about to explain, Geshuhan let out a cold laugh. "Each and every one of Li Jinglong's subordinates is more cunning than the last." Qiu Yangxi laughed, he, as he stopped in his movements, no longer picking up the scattered papers on the floor. Lu Su was still leaning against the wall, gasping for breath. After being hit by Morajin's punch, his head was still ringing. In the Angzi military manner, Morajin, his upper body bare, wearing nothing more than a pair of black martial pants, was lying on the bed, spasming constantly. His open eyes were devoid of any spirit, and he was so cold that he kept shivering. Enlushan studied his body and let out a cold chuckle. The places where he had been stabbed by the dagger had already frosted over, and that layer of frost was currently slowly melting and seeping through his entire body. His abdomen, and even his chest, had turned blue. On Morajin's chest, there was a tattoo in the shape of a deer head. The goo bugs flew in from a crack in the window, taking the form of Wan Feng, who said solemnly, "Milord." Enlushan asked slowly, "How did they know that the target was Geshuhan?" Wan Feng shook his head, his eyes filled with shock. Enlushan's pudgy face was drawn, and he looked hostile. He stared at Morajin, before looking to Wan Feng. Wan Feng asked, "Should we save him?" Finally, Enlushan reached out. His left hand glowed with a red light, and he pressed it against Morajin's chest, his right hand firmly pulling out the dagger. Morajin let out a wild roar as his entire body felt as if it was being burned by flames, and his pupils immediately expanded at that sensation. At almost the same time, just when Enlushan pulled out the dagger, the sigils on the dagger lit up as well, an icy breeze rushing over Enlushan's entire body. In the general's estate, Atai was halfway through his explanation when Lu Su suddenly jerked, his eyes growing hollow. In that instant, he was seeing through Morajin's eyes, and he saw Enlushan tossing the dagger aside, his palms forming the symbol of an offering for the flame in front of him. The golden signet ring that Enlushan wore on his left thumb flashed almost unnoticeably. Right after, the dreamscape changed. The black wolf held down the white deer, ripping and tearing at it on the icy cold plains. Lu Su immediately understood that Morajin had once again sensed him, and while on the border of death, was currently desperately searching for anything warm to absorb their warmth. Lu Su dash. Little Lu. In the dark night, on the icy plains, the cold winds pierced the bone. On the dark plains of despair and death, the black wolf held down the white deer, scratching and biting wildly. The white deer's boiling hot blood spurted forth, splashing across the ground. Its body shone with a bright light, and the black wolf bared its teeth, its furious eyes shining with nothing but bloodlust. But that white light gathered, forming the shape of Lu Su, completely naked. Not only did he not escape, but instead, he hugged the black wolf tightly. In that moment, under a rush of fierce momentum, the black wolf opened its gaping, bloody maw, biting down on Lu Su's shoulder. Lu Su bore that onslaught of fierce, heart-rending pain, as his consciousness slowly grew blurry. The moment before he lost consciousness, he raised his other hand, wrapping it around the wolf's head, his entire body pressed against the black wolf's fur. The force of the black wolf's bite had pulverized his shoulder, the flesh and blood forming a mess. But just as Lu Su made this movement, the black wolf suddenly began to slowly loosen its sharp teeth, raising its head in confusion. Lu Su continued to hug the wolf's head tightly, the side of his face pressed against its lower jaw as he trembled. Suddenly, everything collapsed and shattered. Lu Su widened his eyes, returning to reality. In the room, everyone was staring at him. Ashinakayan let out a breath, asking, "Are you all right?" "He found it," Lu Su said, his voice trembling. Everyone's expressions instantly changed. As the day broke, Li Jinglong and Hung Jun entered the city, holding hands. Hung Jun was still a little out of it, while Li Bai was lazy and sluggish. He hadn't drunk wine for a whole day, so he didn't have any strength left, yet he kept looking around him on their way in. Li Jinglong was at his wit's end. Not only did he have to tug Li Bai back to them once in a while, he also had to take care of Hung Jun, and he also had to make sure that he himself wasn't arrested, so it was like he had two corpse ghosts following after him. The Amber of Lanling had just opened for the day, and the customers had come flooding in. Li Jinglong came in from the back door. The Carpio was beating some eggs and flour to make breakfast, only to suddenly see Li Jinglong. It was so shocked that it let out a loud wah, accidentally spilling the flour paste all over itself. "You're ready to go into the pot now," Li Jinglong said, his face expressionless. "The Carpio, that's not funny. Where's Hung Jun? When did you guys get back?" Hung Jun and Li Bai walked in, and Li Bai asked, "Where's the wine?" "I'll go find you some in a bit." Li Jinglong walked forward, pushing Li Bai in front of him, while Hung Jun, still absent-minded, wandered off to change his clothes. End chapter. Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 112. Beating him at his own game. Hung Jun. Li Jinglong asked. "Come over here in a bit, so that we can all put our heads together." Hung Jun simply replied in the affirmative, before returning weakly to his room. The Carpio followed behind him, asking anxiously, "How did it go?" "Hung Jun. Did you rescue the Kun god?" With that, Hung Jun told the Carpio what had happened along the way, and the Carpio simply listened, before asking, "What's wrong?" Hung Jun thought for a moment, before sighing and saying, "I dreamt of the future." The Carpio's mouth dropped open, and it stared dumbly at Hung Jun, before asking, "Will I become a dragon?" "I didn't dream of you," Hung Jun said, taking his clothes and going outside to draw up some water for a bath. He smiled bitterly. "Jinglong and I will not be together." "Oh," the Carpio said. "Then what about Mara?" "Gotten rid of," Hung Jun replied, a little absent-mindedly. "Then again, I can finally let out a breath of relief. Everything will come, and everything will pass." The Carpio replied, "But the future is not determined, and legend has it that even the Kun god can't predict it in its entirety." "And," Hung Jun said, lifting a bucket of water and pouring it over his head, soaking his entire body. "But at least that is a possibility." The Carpio replied, "It's all right, Hung Jun. No matter where you go, I'll be with you." Hung Jun smiled bitterly. His body looked as if it had been carved from white marble, and his hair hung down, dripping wet, as he grabbed the soap leaves and wiped them on his body a few times, creating a few bubbles. He stood with his back to the Carpio, and the lines of his waist and back were filled with a sense of youth. "But I don't know if I'll be alive or dead in the future," Hung Jun said, turning his head. "Perhaps I'll be dead? Maybe it'll really be like what I guessed. Jinglong inherits the power of Akala, and kills me." "He won't," the Carpio immediately shouted. Hung Jun poured another bucket of water over himself, and after he wiped himself dry, a thought suddenly came to him. He asked, "How are they doing?" The Carpiao said, "I don't know. They're acting all shifty, and even when they go out, they don't bring me along. They're hiding things from me, and they told me to stay at home to make food." Recently, Hung Jun had also found it a little strange. The group almost never seemed to give the Carpiao much of a spotlight, perhaps because they thought that it had already gained the spotlight too often, or perhaps because they hadn't come across any scenarios where they needed to use the Lihun pollen. In the past, Li Jinglong had often brought along the Carpiao, and had even had its own robes made for it. Later, however, after the two of them got together, or to be more accurate, when they were traveling from Chang'an to Ziliang, Li Jinglong began to feel that it was disturbing them, because sometimes the Carpiao would open its mouth to scold him, or would suddenly say something to disrupt the atmosphere between him and Hung Jun when they were being affectionate. After all, no one wanted a father-in-law to be lying in a basin next to where they were being intimate, and no one wanted this father-in-law to shout loudly whenever he wanted to flirt a little. That was truly too frightening. But later, Hung Jun had explained to the Carpiao that he truly did like Li Jinglong, so the Carpiao had no choice but to let its vinegar chugging remain vinegar chugging. It no longer disrupted the two of them, and most of the time, it would avoid them on its own. After all, Hung Jun's heart still had the Carpiao in it, and after so many years of companionship, Zhao Zilong was like a family member to him. It would always have a place at his table, and he would always remember its long-desired dream of leaping over the dragon gate to turn into a dragon. "I went to see San Mengxia," Hung Jun said to the somewhat dejected Carpiao. "After Mara is captured, I'll take you to leap over the dragon gate." The Carpiao's spirits were lifted slightly by this, before it hesitated. "That's good, but what if I don't make it over the gate?" Hung Jun replied, "Then we'll build a house by the San Mengxia, and I'll keep you company as you cultivate." In that instant, the Carpiao was dumbfounded, and it trembled, the question, really, hanging off the tip of its tongue. It seemed to sense that Hung Jun was feeling some kind of melancholy that he had not vocalized, and after a long while, it simply asked, "Hung Jun, what's wrong?" Hung Jun put on his clothes, and he smiled as he waved his hand. What he was actually feeling in his heart, however, was something that he couldn't describe. He had once longed incomparably for this world of red dust, yet now, he had dimly begun to feel exhausted, as if the splendors of the world, at the heart of it, did not belong to him. After all the dust settled, everything would come to an end with it. "I'll go find Lu Su," Hung Jun said to the Carpiao. "I want to eat egg rolls, the soft ones." "Okay," the Carpiao said. "I'll fry you some that are golden brown on one side, with tofu strips and broiled rib meat rolled up in them." Hung Jun swiftly climbed up to the second floor, only to see that the group was in deep discussion behind the screen. Li Bai was currently leaning against the railing, drinking wine, and Lu Su looked to be in low spirits as he lay in the corner. Upon seeing that he was wounded, Hung Jun immediately let out a loud shout, and he asked angrily, "What happened to you?" Lu Su replied feebly, "My head hurts a lot, I hit it. Bring me some medicine to stop the pain." The wound on Lu Su's arm was only an external injury, but Hung Jun knew that his head wound was the dangerous one. He hurried to pull down Lu Su's eyelid to check if he had a brain hemorrhage, before checking his pulse and asking a bunch of questions. Lu Su, however, simply stared fixedly at Hung Jun, with tears in his eyes. "What's wrong?" Hung Jun knelt by Lu Su's side, and Lu Su reached out his arms, wrapping them around him. "Let me hug you for a while," Lu Su said quietly. "I'm so tired." Hung Jun was silent for a moment as he looked at the silhouettes of the people having a discussion behind the screen. When he saw that Mo Rijin was missing, a vague ominous feeling grew in his heart, but he didn't ask. He simply reached out to hug Lu Su in return. Li Jinglong peeked his head out and glanced at them, but he didn't disturb them, instead continuing to tell Chu Yangtze. I believe that we should not act right away. How many more days are there? 3 days, 8 I said. We still have a good amount of time. Li Jinglong pondered, while Qiu Yangxi said, I'm afraid that if we drag it out for too long, things will change. If, on the off chance, An Lushan is bored out of his mind and starts to guess, and when he comes back to himself, he finds out that that icy dagger was a trap to lure the snake out of its den. The whereabouts of the sacred artifact have already been determined, Ashina Kyung said. What, like he can swallow the ring and keep it in his stomach instead? That's actually possible, Qiu Yangxi replied, smiling. If he manages to guess our plan. Li Jinglong, then why not beat him at his own game? We still have some bait to use. And saying this, Li Jinglong tossed a bottle out, which spun around on the table. Inside the bottle appeared a strange bug. You caught it? Qiu Yangxi asked, surprised. Just one, Li Jinglong replied. The other one was accidentally killed. Qiu Yangxi said, this is great. I was just wondering if we should capture that one that's pretending to be Hang Olan and bring it back. That will easily alert him, Li Jinglong said. Allow me to make some plans first. We'll hold off for now and not attack. In 2 days, let's wait for them to come searching us out, before we do anything. That's only if they come, Ashina Kyung replied. I can safely say that before the birthday, they will definitely come, Li Jinglong said. Hung Jun first used a blend of oils to massage the nape of Lu Su's neck, before he then brewed a large bowl of medicine that would dispel the wind and promote circulation of the blood, and then he made him drink it all. Lu Su then asked, do you need to open up my skull? Hung Jun was torn between crying and laughing. I don't have that kind of skill. Saying this, he sent his mana through Lu Su's meridians, helping him stop the bleeding in his brain, before saying angrily, why did no one look after you? Lu Su was sad, partly because of the matter with Morajin, and partly because of how they had hastily treated his wounds, and no one had looked after him. In the end, in the exorcism department, only Hung Jun was so worried about him. I didn't tell them, Lu Su said. I didn't want everyone to worry. Hung Jun thought that sometimes, Lu Su was very difficult as well. He liked Morajin, but he didn't say it, he was injured, but he didn't tell anyone. He was always so cold and distant, yet he always seemed to find pleasure in the loneliness he felt because he was being abandoned. Was it Morajin who attacked you? Hung Jun suddenly asked. Lu Su and Hung Jun immediately grew incensed. Where is he? What makes him think this is okay? Hung Jun thought that Morajin had simply gotten into another argument with Lu Su, so he hadn't expected that once Lu Su finished explaining, his brain would be a little overwhelmed by the developments. He said, wait, I don't quite understand. Simply put, Lu Su said, he's off being a spy, and for the sake of removing any possibility of him exposing himself, he has been completely corrupted. Hung Jun replied, but he knew of your plans beforehand. I used a dream, Lu Su said, to wipe his memories of anything related to that. He simply thought that that night, we headed out to carry out our tasks. Hung Jun was shocked at this, and he asked, you can even do that? Lu Su replied, of course. The power of dreams can change the hearts of humans. For example, if I tricked you by creating a set of memories where you were born as a mortal and raised in Chang'an, and put that into your dream, and in the span of a single night, all the members of the exorcism department vanished without a trace, when you wake up, who would you believe yourself to be? Hung Jun couldn't help but recall that prediction of Zhuangzhou and the butterfly, and for a moment, he couldn't find any words. Lu Su continued, how about you? How was the journey? So Hung Jun, his arm slung around Lu Su's shoulder, told him how it went in a quiet voice. After Li Jinglong finished discussing with the group, they all turned to watch how Hung Jun and Lu Su were once again murmuring quietly to each other after they had been reunited. After they talked for a long while, in the middle of the night, Li Jinglong finished making his preparations, before returning to his room and settling into bed with Hung Jun. "It's almost over," Li Jinglong said to Hung Jun, coming back from taking a shower in the backyard, dressed in his inner robe and his underwear. "What are you troubled over now?" Hung Jun replied quietly, "Nothing." He thought of what Lu Su had told him, and he thought of that dream. At that time, what he had comforted Lu Su with was that the coming days are long. At least, in your lives, you aren't destined to part. As long as he's here, and you're here, there will always be chances in the future. He watched Li Jinglong steadily, reaching out a hand to stroke his cheek. Li Jinglong grabbed his hand, saying quietly, "Yangtze found the whereabouts of the other 5 artifacts of the 6 artifacts of Akala. Everyone agreed that we'll first get rid of Mara, before letting Xiaoyu run unhindered for a bit, and once I gather the 6 artifacts, I'll get rid of it. We will not be parted," Li Jinglong continued earnestly. "No matter what you saw with the Kun God's magic, trust in me, Hung Jun. When have I not made good on my promises?" When those words were spoken, Hung Jun seemed to see another ray of hope. That was true, every single time, Li Jinglong would always accomplish what he had promised Hung Jun. "But I have one condition," Li Jinglong said, sitting on the bed as he smiled at Hung Jun. Hung Jun was a little nervous, and he asked worriedly, "What condition?" Li Jinglong hugged Hung Jun, lowering his head to kiss him, before saying completely solemnly, "We didn't do that last night. It's been a whole day since we've been intimate." Hung Jun replied, chuckling, "If you want to, then let's do it. Didn't we just go at it for 3 whole days and nights?" Li Jinglong replied earnestly, "I reflected over it. We never do it on a regular basis, which isn't good. You have to promise me that every day, we'll do it at least twice, and on time too. Once when we wake up, and once before we sleep. If conditions allow for it, then we have to do it once at noon too." Hung Jun went nuts. "That's impossible. Doing it one time with Li Jinglong required almost a whole session, and Hung Jun would be exhausted afterwards." As Li Jinglong nuzzled his temple, he said, "Then 3 times every 2 days. At most we can do it once a day." Hung Jun said. Actually, Hung Jun couldn't resist swallowing at the thought of them doing it once a day. Li Jinglong replied, "If we miss it, then we have to make up for them." Hung Jun was torn between laughing and crying, and he replied, "If I'm too tired, then that won't do," before Li Jinglong pressed him down against the bed. "That's right, Zhao Zilong," Hung Jun said, after thinking for a moment. Li Jinglong froze, before his forehead furrowed in a frown. Hung Jun felt that ever since he and Li Jinglong had gotten together, Li Jinglong had been purposefully giving the Carpiao the cold shoulder. He hoped that when they were carrying out their tasks that they would still bring it along as much as they could. Li Jinglong found it very baffling that Hung Jun had brought up this topic so suddenly, and after listening for a while, said, "Wife, we're in bed right now, I'm hard beyond belief, and yet you're talking to me about a carp." Hung Jun laughed at that, before moving to hug him. With that, Li Jinglong pulled off both their clothes, ignoring the way Hung Jun was teasing him as he pressed right down on top of him. In the dark night, Mo Rijan's aura of hostility grew even stronger. Soundlessly, he snuck into the pitch-black amber of Lanling, where the lights in all the rooms had been extinguished. Lu Su had undone his bandages and was changing out the dressing on his wound, but when he rose, he suddenly saw that there was a black shadow standing in the corner of his room, and he jolted violently. "As long as I give a shout," Lu Su said in the darkness, "they'll all come here." "You won't shout," Mo Rijan's voice replied from within the darkness. Lu Su's breathing quickened. He felt that Mo Rijan was slowly approaching him, but he did not step back in return. "Why?" Lu Su asked. "Look at what's in front of you," Mo Rijan said. Lu Su lowered his head, only to see one of Mo Rijan's arrows. Before Morajin had left to be a spy, he had handed the seventh nailed arrow to him, and Lu Su had tied a red rope around it and placed it on the table. At this moment, it had slowly floated into the air, and was currently pointing at his own throat. "You won't be able to shout," Morajin said, his voice tinged with danger. "It will slit your throat first." "What did you do to me?" Morajin continued. "How did you know that the second target was Geshuhan?" "It was simply a guess," Lu Su said, after searching his thoughts for a moment. Yang Kuozhong and Geshuhan were collaborating with each other, so naturally, if An Lushan wanted to attack, he had to get rid of him. "Then how about you take a guess right now, who's the third target?" Morajin said. "If you guess wrong, then I'll kill you." "Me," Lu Su replied calmly. In the darkness, Morajin didn't speak for a long time. "Go on, attack me," Lu Su said, closing his eyes. His entire body was trembling, yet he was simply waiting calmly. For a long, long time, which felt as if 1,000 years had passed, but also only 1K, Morajin didn't reply. With a clatter, that arrow landed on the ground. Lu Su opened his eyes. The door of the room was open, and a gust of wind blew in. He had vanished without a trace. Lu Su's breathing grew quick and harsh, and he rushed out into the courtyard, unheeding of anything else as he leapt up onto the rooftop. Li Jinglong was standing in the yard, and he said, "Come down." Lu Su was about to give chase, but Li Jinglong's voice was very stern, and he repeated, "I said, come down." All of the rooms brightened with lamplight, and Atai, Chiu Yangsi, Ashinakayan, and the rest of them all came out one by one, studying Lu Su. Hung Jun stared at Lu Su dumbly, while Lu Su didn't know what had happened, and he was a little confused. "Congratulations, Lu Su," Hung Jun murmured, before he began to chuckle. What? Lu Su didn't understand what he meant. "He didn't tell An Lushan that you could invade his dreams," Li Jinglong said easily, an outer robe draped around him. "Otherwise the Gu now would have come with him." "Correct," Lu Su said. "But what does that mean? Why are you congratulating me?" Everyone began to chuckle at that. Li Jinglong made a gesture, and everyone else dispersed, leaving behind Hung Jun, standing in the corridor in his white robe. Hung Jun walked forward, gesturing for him to sit, and the two of them took a seat on the side of the corridor. Hung Jun turned his head and moved a little closer to Lu Su, saying quietly, "Why would he keep this secret, despite being stabbed twice by you? And why didn't he attack you?" Lu Su's doubt grew. "Because he's grown to like you," Hung Jun said. "Aside from that, what other possibility is there?" Lu Su. End chapter.